Sam Seder.
Molly, Jong-Fast.
Welcome, 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 welcome.
I just figured out what fast politics meant.
What does it mean?
It's your last name.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I I had not put that together. I was like, "Why fast politics?" And then I realized, like, "Oh, okay. I got it."
When I start my own school of political theory, it'll be called Fastians.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, just like Trump's razor is that the stupidest explanation is always the right one.
It's also the easiest one for him to reach for.
So I actually believe that his North Korean style cabinet meetings, where every member of the cabinet goes around and praises him, are appalling, hilarious, and also actually quite smart, and that Democrats should do them.
I mean, it creates the message of it's sort of like, you know what it does is it, reprises his role in The Apprentice, where everybody goes around and sort of placates him and looks like they're, supplicating themselves, to him, and in The Apprentice, to be fair, he never fell asleep, this time around he did, on multiple
It's get
occasions.
I was reading this book that it's a very smart book of political profiles by someone whose name I will not mention because they are a serial fabulist and I do not want to give them any attention. But the writing is very, very good, and that's why I was reading it. And what I found so interesting about it is that it talked about Donald Trump as a 70-year-old, and it made me remember that we have been doing this for an entire decade.
Oh, I mean, sort of more when it comes to Trump, but I mean, yes,
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a decade. It is exhausting. But, we had a problem with politics beforehand. We were just saying, before the show, like people forget that Mitt Romney made a big, big production of coming to New York to kiss Donald Trump's ring
Mhm.
and get his
Ring.
permission and his imprimatur. I mean, and that was in 2012. And so, Donald Trump was one of the intellectual pillars of the Republican Party. All of the birth certificate stuff, the
Yeah,
birther stuff he
yeah.
was the main tent pole for that. And people forget John Boehner wouldn't push back against it. This is well,
Right.
this is a republicanism that has been around, I would argue, for close to 2 decades plus.
And, if you wanna go down that rabbit hole of the America First movement, I mean, you can parse it back.
Pat Buchanan,
Nixon, Pat Buchanan,
Pat
yeah.
Buchanan.
I mean, but even Nixon, I mean, even you can go further and further back. I mean, you have Republicans supporting horrible dictators for, the last
Democrats
century. I mean,
Democrats too, a little
2.
bit.
I
I
mean,
mean,
look, you're
but
talking to someone who's the granddaughter of the last living recipient of the Stalin Peace Prize. So people make mistakes. That's
yeah,
all I'm
it's true.
saying.
It's true. And people make mistakes, but also, I mean, I think like, we've had, when it comes to foreign policy and being supportive of dictators, that has been largely a bipartisan project,
Yes.
in many respects.
But it
Um,
stops today with
it,
Pete Hegseth bombing fishermen in the Caribbean.
See, here's what's I find stunning about this story. This has been going on since September 2nd, and we have heard virtually nothing. And now, the issue is, and I sort of understand this dynamic. I don't want to be sort of Pollyannish about this, but the idea that it's only occurring to people now that this is a crime. Like, I don't even know if it's a war crime. People want to argue it's a war crime because once you attack a vessel or the enemy, and if they're in a boat, and if there's any chance of them surviving, you're not supposed to double tap. But we're not at war with these people. We don't even
Right.
know
No,
who they are. So this is
right,
not
right,
a war crime. It's
right.
a crime that is
I,
being committed on top of a crime.
I laugh to keep from
We've
crying
we've
because I do
murdered
think
84 people, and
right.
with
And they're
absolutely no substantiation as to who they
right.
are, no authority, even if they are who they say who the administration says they are, and there's no reason to believe that. I mean, we were told they were going into that building in Chicago with the Black Hawk helicopters, and they were basically putting Latino people in one moving truck and black people in another moving truck because that whole place was full of Trenta Agua,
Ugh.
and there was none. And so there's
Yeah.
no reason for us to believe them about this, but even if we
No.
were to believe that they were Trendagua in these boats that were incidentally both on the Pacific and the Caribbean, there's no authority to unilaterally bomb these people. Yet we haven't heard a word about it, and now it's just coming out as like, because there are some Republicans who decide that they see this as an opportunity to get rid of Hegseth, and of course Hegseth is throwing his admiral under the bus. This is like 3 months overdue in my estimation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, I mean, they very likely are fishermen too. I mean, there's the illegality of the war, which is maybe not a war because it's hasn't Congress hasn't said it's a war. And then there's also just the fact that they're probably not even those people anyway.
Right, I mean, but who would you declare war against? Boats? Like, well, honestly, these are to the extent
Fishermen.
that there has been any reporting on who they are.
Right.
There's a lot of evidence that it was just, fishermen, but the United States is gonna go to war with a gang? I
Yes.
mean,
No.
there's no authorization for this. It's absurd.
You know what I think though is the most interesting part of this is that in Trump 1.0, you always see Trump is like a master of sequels, right? He cares a lot about. So in Trump 1.0, he had this idea that he was going to go to war with Mexico. Remember that?
Mhm.
And he wasn't going to go to war with Mexico. He's going to go to war with the cartels in Mexico. So I think this is a continuation of that. But it makes me wonder about the government in Mexico and how they managed to distract Trump with a new government. Because, like, do you remember all throughout 1.0, he was like going to go to war with Mexico. And now Mexico has a woman president,
Well,
sort of. She's kind of a cutout, and she's sort of pretty. And now he's not going to go to war with Mexico.
I think it's because I think they have stopped immigrants from traversing through Mexico. This is my guess.
Right.
And I've seen some reporting about this, but not much. That they've, essentially shut their borders to, Central America, at least for people, for immigrants attempting to get to the US. And so I think he's happy with the amount of immigrants that are not coming into, the border, and I think there's also like I don't know who's driving this compulsion, if it's Rubio or what, but there's a serious compulsion within his administration to overthrow, Maduro in Venezuela,
Yeah.
and I think there's probably, 2 projects, only 1 project at a time in that region that he wants to pursue. I mean, that's why he's bombing these boats. It has nothing to do with drugs,
Right.
and not even
Fishermen or
10%,
drugs.
not even 10% of, drugs that enter into the United States are coming from Venezuela. I mean,
No,
that's just
it's
a
coming from
complete
China.
it's a
Yeah.
complete pretense, and when he brought, Juan Guaido to, Congress, I can't remember what year it was. Guaido got a standing ovation from both sides of the aisle, and he
Yeah.
clearly was not the president of Venezuela, and he's never has been since. So, Trump, I think, they want Venezuelan oil, and that's what I think a lot of this is all about at the end of the day. I mean, I think he says as much almost.
Let's talk about the Congress because Mike Johnson, I am really enjoying the misery that is Mike Johnson's life right now. He's fighting with Elise Stefanik on Twitter. He's got this special election in Tennessee. It's in R plus 22. It's happening. So when people listen to this tomorrow, they will know if Democrats probably will overperform. How much we don't know,
Right.
enough to make Donald Trump tweet about it and call in on the phone. And it just seems to me, he has I don't 4 or 5 seat majority. He has all these specials coming up. He still has another year before the midterms.
I think this race is going to have a lot more relevance as a special election than most, because putting aside the first order issue of like this would flip another seat and he has a dwindling majority in the House, and put aside, the sort of like the tea leaves that people read from a special election. It's a Trump plus 22 district. You account for some Democrats are going to be more motivated in a special election than Republicans, but that's also the case on the midterm. But I'm convinced that if Bain gets in there like within, like, let's say 4 or 5 points, or wins for that matter. But if she gets within 4 or 5 points, I think you're gonna see another 2 or 3 resignations, or retirements, I should say, maybe even a resignation of House members, because if she's gonna, overperform by 17 points,
Right.
Trump does, with all of the deployment of all the money, all the
Right.
Trump, I mean, no, most Congress people are not gonna get that much attention in, their midterm races,
Right.
and, from the national party and from Donald Trump. You've got a lot of people who are gonna be like, "I don't wanna spend the next year fundraising or running against, somebody in the primary who's gonna be a pain, then running in the general election, and even if I win, which means I have to overperform what I did in the 2024 election by 10, 15 points,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in the minority." And
Yeah.
so I think there's gonna be, if this is even remotely close, I think that we're gonna see more resignations, frankly.
Yeah, and I mean, we already saw Marjorie Taylor Greene is out in January, which is like a huge fuck you when you have such a small majority, and then you have members of Congress using discharge petitions.
Yep.
And so let's talk about Jeffries has actually put together a discharge petition. I'm not sure about the Obamacare premiums, trying to sort of get that together. I mean, it seems unlikely that that goes, but Republicans don't have some other healthcare idea.
No, and you have, some Republicans like, Lawler, and, like New York, Republicans, probably some California Republicans, to the extent that they're
Though
gonna
it
exist
exists. I know.
the redistricting, who
Daryl Issa.
Darrell Issa is supposedly gonna run in Texas. It's possible you get a couple of Republicans to sign on to something like that, because they know they're gonna get destroyed, as these, healthcare premiums go through the roof. I mean, it's gonna be really debilitating for millions of people, but it also speaks to, I think, in many respects, the failure of parts of the Affordable Care part of the Affordable Care Act, right? It was the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act is what the
Right.
official name was, and the patient protection's pretty good. You have health insurance is a better product now than it was, in 2013,
Yeah.
but the affordable part, no, not so much. And hopefully, slowly, the Democrats will get to the point where they realize, like, we need to, have a fundamental shift in the way that we, pay for health insurance in this country, and that it'll be a single payer system. It's just far more efficient.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you think that, like, there's any way in which, like, Trump clearly sees this coming. Members of the House understand. I mean, people see, that so Trump said, we're going to, like, let's extend the premiums and basically let's do what Democrats wanted. That was last
Right.
week's drama. And then members of the House were like, fuck no, we're not doing that. But it is, if you wanted to not get completely creamed in the midterms, that would be really the only way to do it, right?
Well, I mean, I think the problem is that you have so many of the Republican lawmakers who are in, such polarized and safe Republican seats. We forget this entire movement was built, at least part of it, on voting to repeal Obamacare.
Mm,
And the idea for them to, like, do a full 180, one, I think it opens them up to, primary challenges in their districts. And
right.
2, I think it, opens them up to charges of being, rhinos, and the margins are so thin. I think it's wrong these days to look at least the Republican Party, and frankly, on some level, the Democratic Party, to look at them as the first lens being their party affiliation on things like this. Because I don't think there
Mm,
is a if they wanted to do something. I think it's a bunch of individuals who are making the assessment as to what helps them in their district first,
right.
and what their brand is, and, what their relationship with their voters are. So I think it's hard to, assess, like, if the Republicans were smart, they would have done it. If the Republicans were smart, they would have done this. They would have just done
Right.
it to open up the government. But,
Right.
in those things, they don't function as a hive mind. All of them as individuals know that, like, I made my bones on arguing against Obamacare. I can't
Right.
sign off on Obamacare on anything. I can't validate it in that way. If the members of the Democratic Party were more aggressive, they would take any capitulation by Republicans on this and walk the other direction like the Republicans would. They don't do that though.
Yeah, if only they were more aggressive. I mean, just think.
There has been a significant portion of the Democratic Party which is vehemently against any type of expansion of Medicare. We could have done that during COVID.
Mhm.
We could have said, if you've lost your job and you need health insurance, we're going to expand Medicare temporarily. Nancy Pelosi fought that tooth and nail. And instead, we subsidize COBRA, which is the least possible efficient for a dollar for dollar way of providing health insurance to people. I mean, just incredibly, it's the most expensive way. But I think that was done as a way of maintaining this sort of fiction that we can't expand Medicare for people under the age of 65. I mean, that's absurd. It's the more you expand it, going down in age, the
The
cheaper
cheaper
it
it gets
becomes
because
because
those
you're
people
expanding the
don't
risk
need.
pool. Yes,
Right.
and
I
so,
know.
I mean, everybody knows this, and, there's just, too much. I don't know if it's
There's a
donors
reason
or ideological stuff, it's both probably.
that Canada doesn't want old people coming there is because it's very expensive, the
Yep,
healthcare, whereas if you're younger, it's cheaper because you don't have to.
yep.
And I think that's a really good point, and also, I just wanna add, if you were gonna bring up Nancy Pelosi, who was in many ways a great fighter for the cause, the most important thing now is to ban congressional stock trading because
I
that is
mean,
something that we opens the door to Trumpism, right? It's not as bad, but you get when you have members. No, but when you have
oh,
members
no,
of
I
Congress
agree.
trading stock. Yeah.
I mean, the only downside is that, those people who use an app to shadow, Nancy Pelosi's,
Yeah.
stock trading and have made a killing off of it, will feel bad. But yes, of course. I mean, we're just watching the complete, like, sort of monetization of our government. This is the thing. If you've ever been involved in like small town governance, it's the same dynamic.
Yeah.
People become the city councilman or alder people or whatever, or sit on boards because it's an extension of their business. This is the way I network. I'm going to throw
Yeah.
this county grant to my friend who does food distribution, and they're going to give me a deal on this. And that's what Trump is doing, but doing it on a national level. And the insider trading that takes place with Congress people is a perfect example of this. Yeah, it seems to me a no brainer, and I think when she's gone, it's going to happen.
Sam Seder, will you come back?
Of course, anytime.